afternoon, everyone. This is Olivia Fry from NASPO. We appreciate you joining us this afternoon for our second annual NASPO Internship Recap webinar. We're really excited to have many of our student interns as well as their supervisors from the 8 states who participated this past summer. The webinar is being recorded, so for any of your colleagues who are unable to attend, we'll be happy to send that to them after the call. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So first, we're going to go ahead and give a brief overview of the NASPO internship program, the pilot program last summer, and the first true iteration this summer. And we'll talk briefly about the housing stipend option that many of your states took advantage of. We'll have some brief presentations from our summer 2018 teams talking about the projects they worked on, kind of the high-level successes that they faced. And then we'll give a brief overview of our plan for the 2019 program and have some time at the end for question and discussion. So just briefly, many of you already know, but in 2017, we were at the first annual academic forum at Arizona State University, and we were talking with a group of our members, a group of our academic partners about ways to not only partner with our higher ed folks, but also to promote this pipeline of talent from these top tier programs and top tier universities to these states. So one of the really important ways that's been done in the private sector is through the use of internship programs. So even though it was April and most schools get out in May for the summer, we thought, you know what, let's just try a pilot program. We got it together really quickly. Want to give a shout out to Massachusetts, Idaho, and Utah, who said, yes, we will do it. We will, you know, kind of be the guinea pigs for this program and gladly be your pilot state. So we had 4 students in these 3 states for our first pilot program. It was a really great success. We learned quite a bit from that process and from that pilot. And that grew into our 2018 program. So from 3 states in the pilot in summer 2017 to 8 states in 2018 that just completed several weeks ago. And between those 8 states, we had 15 interns. So quite the growth there. Some really interesting projects, some really interesting ways that the state set it up. Really great success in that program as well. So we're really just pleased at the growth and the initiative that you all have taken as our state members to grow our program. So with that, before I move on, I have a couple of poll questions. So I'm going to go ahead and launch this. My question for the group is, have you hosted an intern in your state office? And that could be either through the NASPO program or independently.
This is Ben Anderson. Can anyone hear me? Apologies.
Great. Thank you, Ben. We can hear you.
Awesome.
Thank you for joining. Sorry about that. Great. So it looks like we have a little bit higher percentage than I expected. About 55% of our state members on the call have hosted interns in their state. And let's see, 27% have not yet, but would like to. So I'm glad that you're here. This is the right webinar for you, and we will hopefully give you the information that you need to feel confident in doing that. So thank you all for answering that. So I have one more follow-up question to that. If you have not hosted an intern in your state office, so that was about, I think, 25, 30%, why have you not? Is it you don't know where to begin? You don't know what you would have the intern work on? You maybe don't have a staff capacity at the moment? You're worried about those HR issues, or you really aren't sure if you see the value in an intern? Great. So those of you who said, I don't know where to begin, we hopefully will give you enough information here today, and you'll be motivated to start in your own state. And those of you who said you don't have the staff capacity right now, we definitely understand that. The world of public procurement is very fast-paced, and there's always a stack of to-dos on your desk that seems like it never ends. But hopefully, after hearing from some of our states who've participated in the past, you will maybe be able to change that opinion. So thank you for that. One thing I do want to highlight today that is new from the pilot to the first true iteration this summer was the internship housing stipend. So NASPO, we have provided the last 2 years the internship grant and the amount of $20,000. But one of the things that our state members have told us and our interns have told us, it's really, really hard for me as a student to travel across the country for the summer and find a place to live, get there, get set up. Even though it's a paid internship, these interns may not receive their first paycheck for several weeks into the position. So we kind of worked with our legal team to decide what is the best way to combat this issue, because these are top tier students from top tier programs, really impressive schools. We want to get the best talent for you all. So one of the ways that we decided would be beneficial was to offer a portion of that internship grant that could be paid directly to the student in the form of a housing stipend. I know there's a lot of questions in the past about tax liability for your state, for the intern, for NASPO. We've done some investigation and we found that there is no tax liability for any party in a situation. So it's a great option. Not all states took advantage of it this year. They had some students who happen to live locally, but many states did take advantage of this, and it was really, really beneficial. So I think that maybe some states may actually mention that today, but that's just an option to keep in mind if you're considering participating this coming year. So with that, I want to go ahead and begin our team presentations. We don't have a whole lot of time today, so I want to make sure that you get to hear from each of our teams. So first up, we have the state of Texas, and we have Jared McCrossan and intern Ben Anderson.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. And Olivia, thank you for inviting Ben and myself to participate. You said we've got about 5 minutes, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So this was we didn't get an opportunity to participate in the pilot year, but so this was the first full year. We took advantage of the internship opportunity, and one of the interesting things are kind of, and I guess in combination challenges for us, is how do we find an intern? The interns preferred through the NASPO program are with the partner schools, and none of them are here in Texas. And the $2,000 stipend was something that we'd actually talked about earlier on, and I think that that's something that made a difference in us being able to recruit quality internship candidates who were able to relocate from, in the case of Ben, who's going to talk about in a second, from Michigan, and our other intern, Nolan Bennett, who came from Penn State University. And we brought the interns in the middle of May, and we kept them here for 11 weeks. They finished up at the end of July. We're located about within spitting distance of the University of Texas campus, and so that was an opportunity for Ben and Nolan to come in and find a housing accommodation there through the sublease. In terms of for the program, what I was looking for was an opportunity to introduce public procurement as a career option for students, and also pilot what would an internship bring, not just in the summer, but potentially if that was something we could do with and set up with local universities year round. And I think having the two guys in with us for the 11 weeks of the summer gave us an opportunity to actually see, when we teach procurement to someone who has never done it before, what is it they come in with in terms of prior knowledge and expectation, and what do we need to teach them? And to do that, we actually put both of them through our Certified Texas Contract Developer course, which is a three-day course and certification that is mandated by statute for people involved in purchasing and in contract development for the state of Texas. And they both did tremendously. They both are now certified Texas contract developers. They took the exam and passed it, and now have that to add to their resume. And so, Ben, do you want to jump in and just talk a little bit about, I guess, taking the course and how that made a difference to your experience, maybe in the program?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Jared. Like I was introduced before, my name is Ben Anderson. I go to Michigan State University. So yeah, taking the CTCD course and test, it was a really good way just to kind of connect the dots. We were brought in, and on the very first day, Nolan and I didn't really have a solid idea of what public procurement was. And, it was kind of learning to swim by jumping in the deep end. And the CTCD course was about 3 weeks or 4 weeks in. And like I said, it was just a really good way to get a kind of a step-by-step process of how everything works and how everything should be done. And again, it just connected all the dots, filled in all the missing spaces that we had.
I think what we did with Ben and Nolan's, we literally did throw them in the deep end. We had them assigned. They sat in a lot of the meetings and kind of got a big picture view of what we do here at statewide contract development. And then as various members of our staff who were working on procurements needed assistance on various parts of it, whether or not it was reviewing specifications, whether or not it was doing vendor checks, working on the catalogs that go through into our Texas Smart Buy e-procurement system. Some of it, was pretty. Was pretty clerical in nature, but in terms of, these are the things that are needed to complete a procurement. You have to check whether vendors are registered in your system. Have they bad vendor performance reports in there? They got to participate in evaluations and reviews of documents in there, and also in specification drafting. And Ben and Nolan had two. They've got a little bit different in their educational track. Ben is supply chain management in his approach. Nolan, on the other hand, has a finance background and was focused on pre-law, and he was actually taking pre-law classes during the summer here as well in preparation for the test he needs to get into law school. And so we were able to pair him with one of our general counsel lawyers who gave him an award packet to review, and he actually got an opportunity to do a review on that and kind of learn it from the legal point of view. And that was really kind of our intent, is to see the full operation of what we do here, but also to get an opportunity to experience the parts that really interest you. And I will tell you, from our staff's point of view, it was a really beneficial experience to have Ben and Nolan in the office. They provided an extra pair of hands and really jumped in and gave me a really positive impression of what students can do when in the work environment. We did a couple of things in terms of structuring the day, and I asked Ben, and I had a chat yesterday about this to see if it was something I got right. And so we had it, as I said before, we scheduled it for 11 weeks. So they got a very short break of a handful of days from when the spring semester ended, and then they had, I guess, about a week or two before you went back. But we structured it as a 35-hour work week. They officially were employees of the state of Texas, albeit temporary. And they were classified as contract technician 2, and we structured it as a 35-hour work week, so that from my point of view as a manager, the guys came in at 8:30 in the morning, they left at 4:30 in the afternoon, and we were a little bit flexible here and there, but they essentially worked full time. But our staff were up and running and ready to hand off assignments and work to them. And Ben, do you want to talk about how that worked for you guys? How you fit it in?
Yeah, real quickly, it was just it was good to come in and have things to do. Everything I felt we did was meaningful. Some of it was clerical, but again, that's just part of the process. So it was nice. The whole staff was very appreciative. They used us. I mean, we never just kind of sat there without anything to do. We were always doing different projects, things like that. But the 35-hour work week was nice. It let us have a little bit of time at the beginning and end of the day, and then also allowed for us to come in and just jump into things.
And Ben, you talked about when we talked yesterday the housing. You all opted to go with off-campus housing at the University of Texas, and both of you all ended up living together. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So fortunately, Nolan and I both ended up in the same apartment, which worked out very nicely. It was just off campus of the University of Texas, so the subleasing was already set up. We found a furnished apartment, so we didn't have to worry about moving stuff. The living stipend really helped with that because, they wanted, I think it was like a month and a half's rent up front, which was almost half the entire rent we were ever going to pay down there. So the stipend was really nice. And then it was nice to live with the other intern just because, having someone on the same schedule is always a nice thing. And then, just that personally, we got along very, very well. And it was nice to, have somebody there that was on your same schedule, doing the same things as you, that you could always rely on and go to, kind of thing.
Was there any questions?
Thank you, Jared. Thank you, Ben. I do want to give a quick plug for our career fair. So I actually met Ben at the Michigan State Supply Chain Career Fair back in January, and we chatted, and I was very impressed with him, and he let me know that he had applied for a few of our internship positions. And then he ended up being hired at Texas. So I think, Jared, correct me if I'm wrong, but that connection, I think, may have increased your interest
Absolutely.
in attending a career fair later on.
Yeah, absolutely. And, making that connection, unfortunately, you were able to make that connection for Ben and give him the recommendation. And I went out to Arizona State with you last month and met some students that are potentially interested in doing internships through NASPO this summer. And I think being able to make that connection with the students really gave me a degree of confidence that we would be able to hopefully recruit some good people.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Olivia, this is Carlos Velez with the state of Connecticut. Before we let Ben go, I just wanted to congratulate Ben on a great, a great summer in Texas. And just for everyone's record, we offered Ben an internship, and he told us that he was taking a better offer.
I don't know about that wording, but thank you.
No hard feelings, right?
Well, if you got the opportunity to go to Texas, you go to Texas.
Really? Wow. I'm going to mute myself now.
Great. Well, thank you, Jared. Thank you, Ben. We appreciate your testimony. Next up, we have the City of New York, and we have Don Green and his intern, Nicole Cassell.
Yes, hi. Hi, Nicole. We
Hi.
We had a lot of the same experiences that Texas had. One of the things that we did was we had two interns. We had projects set up already. Nicole can talk a little bit about her project after, but what I wanted to focus on was for those out there who have not had an intern, I think the intern guide was invaluable to us as and I know I said this before, but it really helped us. It helped us get through a bunch of the internal HR issues that we had. We had a 12-week program, and we threw the student interns in as workers to do the mandatory training that all state workers have to take. You know, the sexual harassment, the IT security training, et cetera, et cetera. There were a number of trainings, and then we also started them on training as we have regular Thursday trainings every other Thursday, and they got thrown into those too. I don't mean thrown in. Well, everybody takes those trainings. So topical trainings, and we thought that the best way was to have them experience the life of a state worker, and by doing that, they got hit with a bunch of things up front. They were all the readings that we gave them, the state procurement law, and a whole bunch of other readings, I think, was the same thing that we do with every single new employee we have. So they were also temporary employees. They were on the HR system. And they got lagged. So I think some of the stipend money helped them also. So what I did want to focus on was the whole idea of visiting a career fair and talking to students, because I think we all experienced in the past that one of the big problems in our profession is that students don't know that this is the actual profession. So Nicole, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely, Don. Thank you. Like Don said, my name is Nicole Cassell. I'm currently a student at SUNY Plattsburgh studying supply chain management as well as business administration. And essentially, government procurement was not something that was initially on my radar, as I honestly can say I don't know anyone that had been in the profession or even had essentially worked for the state. Now, coming from myself, I am from the capital of New York State, Albany, where my internship was located. And it was very, very rare to run into someone that had said that they had experience working with the state and doing procurement and so forth. And coming from my schooling background, procurement is not something that is often discussed in the classroom. And coming from my school, which is located near the Canadian border, we often would talk about international procurement in regards to Canada and New York, and nothing ever really touched the state level. So for myself, I found that through a lot of networking and discussing with people that there were opportunities within the state that were very highly coveted. And particularly my perception in the beginning, I was very hesitant to step foot into this unknown, because for students, I think they find that working for government agencies is scary and a bit of a daunting process. But my perception absolutely changed once I set foot in that office. There was nothing but welcoming voices, and my project, which to step into briefly, was to recreate the feedback forms for New York State contracts and take it from a paper form for our vendors and contract managers. And I transformed it into a digitalized form that vendors and, again, contract managers can view online, and they can create their own feedback, in which creates transparency and enhances our customer service for the state. And from doing this, I learned how to transcend into creating meetings and how to speak to people in different ways than you would in, say, your classroom. And because of this, my opinion about the state changed dramatically. No longer do I view it as this scary, terrifying type organization. And I view it now as a tremendous opportunity, a place to grow. They give you all the necessary skills that businesses, private businesses covet these skills, and the state absolutely adequates you with the right skills to be a phenomenal business person or whatever your career path is. It was definitely a great experience.
Yeah. So thank you, Nicole. One of the things I do want to say is, I think the two projects that we had were very different. The one that Cole Reese, the other intern, had also from Plattsburgh was more long term, and I think we surprised Nicole in that she knocked this thing out relatively quickly, and we were kind of like holding her back, like holding the horse back from starting gate, because, and I think Nicole got a little bit of feeling of, or certainly a flavor of, the multiple people that touch a process. She was ready to go after 2.5 weeks to actually just put it up online and start it. So, maybe we learned something there too. Besides, because we're finding the skills that students have now are I think much better than what I saw when I first came into state government. So that's
Thank you, Don. Thank you, Nicole. And Nicole, I appreciate you talking about how your perception has changed. And we hope that you go back to your campus and tell your friends that and spread the word.
Definitely.
Next. Thank you. Next, we have Idaho, and we have Valerie Bollinger and Mina Lee.
Hi, everybody. This is Valerie in Idaho. So Idaho was one of the two pilot states, as Olivia shared at the beginning. So this was our second year having NASPO interns. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of what we learned from year one that helped improve hopefully year two, and kind of how we structured this summer, and then I'll hand it off to Mina, who I think is on the call. So I will say that the first year, I was underprepared. I won't say I wasn't prepared, but I was underprepared. And that was partially just because of the timing. I know, we've talked about, it was a really quick turnaround from when this idea came up to when we were moving forward. So this year, I knew about it far enough in advance that we were able to plan a little bit better for kind of how to structure the summer. We had a little bit more structure as far as regular meetings, both with myself and with our administrator, our CPO. So a little more structure, a little bit more planning, and I think that worked really well. The other big difference was our first summer we had one intern, and this last summer we had two interns, Mina from Penn State and also Chris, who is from Boise State University. And so I thought that having two interns was really nice. From my perception anyway, was that it was nice for them to be able to sort of bounce ideas off of each other. Kind of, after we talked about a project, they could talk about it and make sure, if they have any questions, they could clarify. And it was, our office is fairly small, but also extremely busy. And so my staff are great about have been great about inviting the interns along and reaching out to them. But I think it's also nice when my staff are all busy, they had each other to kind of talk to and work through challenges and that sort of thing. So I thought that was a nice kind of addition this year. So we did what I hope was a good combination of different types of things, much like I've heard from Texas and New York. So we did a combination of the projects that we always want to get to and never, ever, ever get to. So, kind of the rainy day projects, but, Boise is in the desert, so it doesn't really rain here ever. We don't have rainy days, so we have interns to come in and do our rainy day projects, which is great. So they worked on those sorts of projects, and also some time-sensitive projects. They did a lot of research. Mina did a ton of research to help support a budget request that we were putting in. So that was really timely and helpful and very relevant, right? It wasn't busy work by any means. I was writing a budget request for some additional positions that we desperately need, and they were able to do the research for me so that I didn't have to take the time to do that, which was great. There was also some everyday work toward the end of the summer. Mina was processing most of our contract renewals that were coming through the office, which is great. They shadowed the other staff a lot, went to a lot of meetings. I think probably learned some things that it's sort of I always tell new employees who haven't worked for the state before that it's kind of like sausage. If you like sausage, maybe you don't want to know how it's made. Sometimes that's the way state government is. You don't always want to know the dirty secrets, but I think it was a good, honest view of what government is all about. And sometimes it's not clean, it's dirty and messy, and they got the real life view of that, which to me I think is great. And then we actually did a lot of training. So Sarah and I took turns kind of walking through NASPO's practical guide with Mina and Chris. We kind of assigned them homework, and they would read the chapter and then come in and ask questions, and we would kind of highlight certain things that we thought were really important for them to learn. And they had the joy maybe of attending all of my or most of my training classes that I offer to our state employees in procurement. So it was really fun for me to have them in class. I think from my perspective as the manager, the things that I love, I mean, it's great to have people come in and be able to do some projects. That's awesome. But even more than that, I love sort of the breath of fresh air, having people come in who are not bogged down by the everyday workload that most of my staff have. They came in with a fresh mindset. They were excited. They were, had really open minds about what they were going to learn. They asked really great questions. Really, really thoughtful questions that we often don't take the time to ask anymore because we've been doing this for too long. So for me, the fresh set of eyes and that energy has been my favorite part. Both summers has been my favorite part of having interns. So that's kind of from my perspective how we, I think, grew internally grew our internship program and kind of made the most out of it this year, and we'll definitely be excited to participate in the future as well. So with that, I will turn it over to Mina if she wants to share her thoughts.
Thank you, Valerie. Well, you kind of explained everything, what we did during the internship program. But so I am from South Korea. I am an international student. So going into public sector procurement was something like very different than my perspective of like, okay, government or in the public sector, it's like very different how you do business or anything like that. So I'm also a finance student and minoring in MIS. So as a finance student, I didn't think that I was gonna go into procurement side, which is more of like supply chain. But with this opportunity, I was able to see a new picture where I wanna, pursue maybe a job opportunity in the future. But like Valerie said, this whole internship program was very beneficial to me because now I am like, I can be different than compared to all other students like at Penn State. All day, like in class, we all only learn about private sector, and public sector is something that we really don't talk about. And now, like, I tell them, oh yeah, I had a very different, internship this summer, and they all look at me like, wow, that's kind of cool. Even a professor that I go to, he even said that, you know what, I think this is a great opportunity learning about public sector because, you know what, nowadays everything's combining, supply chain, finance, accounting, everything is coming together. That this NASPO internship program was awesome, I would say. I think it was so cool. And one of the things that I really, really enjoyed was being part of a member of purchasing a learning management system for purchasing division. So yeah.
Thanks, Mina.
Thanks, Val, and thank you, Mina. And then just with time, make sure we get to everyone. I will keep my comments to a minimum. So go ahead on to Utah. And we have Wendy Pyrus on the line. Unfortunately, her intern was unable to join us. But Wendy?
Oh, sorry, I didn't unmute myself. So I'm Wendy Pyrus, I'm assistant director over at State of Utah's procurement office. So we had Kayla Medina join us from ASU. This was our second year participating in the program. And honestly, it was another great experience. We had an intern last summer as well as obviously this past one. And both candidates have been great. With regards to Kayla specifically, she came on board about mid-May, and she stayed with us right up until she had to start school and head back down to ASU. She was invaluable to the office over the summer. We were able to get her involved in a lot of different projects that we just needed some, just another pair of hands. And I think that's something that seems to be a note that's been made across the board. I think that sometimes as much as we try to get done with just our staff, having that additional pair of hands kind of say, hey, can you just come on for this to just help us with some tactical stuff here, and following up with her and working with her, we were able to pull her in to assist with procurements, with research on those procurements. She actually ran a few solicitations, some simple solicitations with us. She helped with the state's Amazon business rollout. She was able to actually also participate with us with regards to our use of the customer service surveys and get certified through the system for a Qualtrics certification. So, she was able to take that back with her at the end of the internship. That it was, there was one additional thing that we know is something that will be useful for her on on resumes moving forward. But something insightful that she shared with us, as you know, as we kind of got towards the end of the time when she was working with us, was that she had all of these friends and peers who had these internships in the private sector that sounded much more fancy than coming to work for the state of Utah, right? These Fortune 500 companies and things like that. And she she was really proud to be able to say that she felt like coming here, she actually got to do something and make a difference and learn and have skills to take back with her, as opposed to just being what, the stereotype of an internship that she said some of her friends were experiencing. She came in and she was helping us with, reviewing contracts to try to understand and how our contracts are structured. And, she would ask the questions, and she participated in our weekly staff meetings where we're reviewing over statutes and providing training to state agencies. We actually, Olivia had a chance to meet both of us together. We actually were able to take her with us out to NASPO Reach in July as well in New Orleans. And that was a great experience to be able to not just say, okay, here's how we work in the office, but also just the team building aspect of it. She fit in seamlessly, and our staff they were all willing and to work with her on different projects and pull her in and involve her as an additional staff member, regardless of the short time that she was with us. It felt like she was, that she was going to stick around. We were hopeful anyway. So, we've already extended the comment of, hey, if you decide to move back, because she was local, going to ASU, but actually from the Salt Lake area, so we didn't have to worry about any of the housing stuff. But we did let her know to please reach out if there was something open at that time. There may be potential additional opportunity, and she said that she was very interested in that. And I think that for us, that was a huge proponent of continuing to participate in this program and actually potentially evaluating, how else can we maximize on kind of an internship role within our office, because sometimes we do just need another pair of hands to help get, as Valerie said, kind of those back burner projects done. We just need another pair of hands, and if they're willing and able, and and we've had candidates that are very sharp, very capable that we've been able to leverage on. So it's been a great experience for us, and just throughout the summer, I know that we definitely had projects that maybe would not have been able to move quite as quickly if we didn't have that internship, and if we didn't have Kayla on board with us to kind of help with some of the tactical items to get things done.
Thank you, Wendy. I appreciate you sharing your testimony as well. We have Carlos Velez from Connecticut next.
Hello, everyone. I'm actually joined by Veronica Cody. Veronica Cody is our surplus supervisor and worked directly with our intern, Will. Veronica, how do you pronounce his name, actually?
It's Bin-Shin Liu.
Bin-Shin Liu. As you can hear from the name, Will came to us from Penn State, but lives in China. And what I'd like to do, because unfortunately Will was unable to join us, he has an exam, is to share with you maybe our thoughts about having a foreign student and what the benefit of it was to us. In looking at having Will, the first question was, well, how did you get your name? Like, why Will? So in that, it was a wonderful question because he said, well, my favorite character is Will Smith, my favorite actor. And the word will just says, listen, I'm going to get it done. So in hearing him initially, we thought that one of the best approaches was to expose him to our staff via a PowerPoint presentation. And really at our first staff meeting, which was like the first week he was here, we said, Will, do us a favor and tell us about you in 8 slides or less. And he did that. And ladies and gentlemen, that just broke the ice because unlike Min, I'm from Colombia, so I hope I'm not jumping here, but there was no language barrier in hearing you, Min. But with Will, there was a language barrier. There were issues where idiomatic expressions, and I've said this a few times, you know, I'd say, that's like nailing jello to a tree or hugging smoke. And he would look at me like, what are you talking about, you know? So the neat part was not only, which Veronica will get into, is what so many of us have shared already, the benefits, the actual nuts and bolts of getting the product out of our interns and what they get through that. But I really want to kind of embrace the idea of a foreign student. I know that initially there was some discussion of, you know, if we have a foreign student, is that in line with what we're looking for? Because are we looking to bring them into state procurement? And if they're not going to stay in the country, that's a whole other discussion. But I want to believe that in the long run, what a benefit to everyone. So with Will, we had to make a pact almost at the beginning that if there was going to be a correction in his language or in an expression or anything like that, it was going to be done with all respect, and he was going to accept it in that way. That the goal here is so that you say it properly, and so that so many of us, if we were to go to another country, hopefully would embrace the same thought. So I'm going to close up and let Veronica speak, but I do want to say that for Will, I know that he said this in both verbally and wrote it, that it was a summer that was one of the best in his life. And to hear that as an adult providing this opportunity is something that I'll never forget. So I'll close and let Veronica speak.
Hey guys, this was such an incredible opportunity for us. As Carlos said, we had a foreign student and he came from China. He was able to share his world experiences with us because he not only came from China, but he's a world traveler. He's been to more countries than I can even remember to be able to share with you, and had experiences everywhere. So for him to take that and share it with us and share his knowledge that he's gathered along the way to help us with our projects that we were doing, we came at him with some things, as some other people have said, projects that we knew we wanted to get done, but we don't have the time or the staff to put behind them, but they needed to get done. So with him coming in with a fresh perspective and a worldly perspective, to be able to analyze this and come up with some really outside the box ideas that I would never have come up with, or that any of our staff, when it was shared, wouldn't have come up with, was really something to embrace. And we felt very empowered having him here with us and sharing his thoughts and ideas and visions so that we can now start thinking in a different way as well. His work ethic was amazing, is amazing. He still is reaching out to us to follow up on some projects that he completed to the point where he could complete them. And the rest of it now is on us to get some other things in place to be able to implement them. And he's still following up to work with us and get that stuff done. So it really was amazing to see that. His integration into our staff, as many of you experienced, was seamless. He came in, that presentation that Carlos spoke about right at the beginning to introduce himself was fun, it was funny, it was powerful, and it made him so approachable to everyone. Even though he mainly worked with myself and Carlos and 1 or 2 other staff on a daily basis, he interacted with our whole 52-person staff on the regular. He was able to go out and do different things with all areas of procurement. He was able to go to some high-level meetings and learn some stuff. And it was really great for him as well to see a different side of government, state government, that he hadn't seen before. One of his comments in being an international student was, you know, I don't know where I'm going to want to work. I don't know where I'm going to want to spend my life. I've traveled to all different countries. I may want to work in the US for several years and see how I'm feeling about it, and then maybe travel to another country and work there. But this is giving me the tools that I need to be able to even make that decision. So that felt really good for us. Our rapport was wonderful, and we were thrilled to have this experience. So thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, Veronica. I appreciate you sharing. In the interest of time, we have 3 more states to get through and a little bit more information about next year's program that I know many of you are interested in. So we're going to go ahead and move on to Wisconsin with Sarah Redford. Sarah, are you muted on your phone possibly?
Yeah, I'm muted.
Sarah, are you muted on your phone? I know Sarah's on the line. We're going to go ahead and move on to Massachusetts, just to give Sarah a moment to go ahead and get on the line. So Donna, would you go ahead?
Hi, Olivia.
Hey, Olivia, it's Gary.
Hi, Gary.
How are you?
Great. If you all would mind going ahead.
Sure, no problem. We'll keep it brief. We also have to jump off at 3 o'clock for a summit that we're doing here. But we had another productive year of interns. As some of you may know, we run a team of 6 interns for the summer, and each of those interns gets a 10-week project to work on, and they're assigned to a particular unit here. And we, as others have mentioned, we seat them all together so that the interns get to create peer-to-peer relationships and actually figure out the strengths of one another and take advantage of those strengths. Some of those interns are better writers. Some of them are better with problem solving or mathematical things, and others are more generalist and are stronger with, you know, PowerPoint presentations and those kinds of things. So the group finds a way to work with one another to actually bring their game up based on the projects they're working on. We set the program up so that about the midway point, we have them do a presentation either to all staff, because we run quarterly all staff, and or leadership, and we did both this year again, so that they get the experience also of being able to present to 100 people in one room at one time. And also to talk about sort of what they've learned, what their progress is, what kinds of experiences they've had up to that point, how they've interacted with, you know, other staff here at OSD and the like. So that's really the short encapsulated version. We do a year-end project as well, review with them, and we ask them to present their final project outcomes and lessons learned and whatnot. So I'll stop there just because I know you're short on time.
Thank you, Gary. I appreciate that. We're still trying to get Sarah's phone back working, so we'll go ahead and move on to Oregon. We have Jenny Beckwith and Connor Bale.
So this was the first year for Oregon to participate, and we had 4. You all can hear me, I trust?
Yes, we can. Thank you,
okay.
Jenny.
So we had 4 interns from Oregon State University, and since that's only about 45 minutes away, and most either lived there or in the Portland area, it worked for us not to have to use the stipend and consequently have 4 interns. We did a 32-hour week. We had them work Monday through Thursday. That gave them the opportunity to take classes on Friday or have another job or just play a little bit. We also took 4th of July week off. So we really tried to balance kind of schedules of our people. The interesting thing we did, Connor's on the phone with us, and I'll let him talk. He was actually placed here with DAS Procurement Services, but we placed the other 3 at our bigger agencies that have procurement shops. So we had someone at ODOT, Department of Revenue, and DHS OHA. And then everyone came together on Thursday afternoon, and we did what I kind of call field trips. But we went out to lots of agencies to see really state government at work and all of the different types of things we do. And I believe that was, I'll let Connor speak to his thoughts on that. We had them do the online contract administration certification so that they have a credential, a resume builder when they coming out of the summer. And we felt like really our approach was teaching them a lot about procurement, participating in as much as they could, but really becoming ambassadors for state government. So Connor, I'll have you talk.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Connor Bale, and it's a pleasure to be able to share my experiences today. As Jenny mentioned and other people have mentioned, we did it was an 11 credit contract coordination certification. And then once we finished that, we were kind of off at the races. I helped out with a couple of legislatively mandated projects, which I thought was really interesting. But I want to talk about the field trips, which was definitely the most fun part of what we did. We got to go around, and Salem's kind of like the hub for all of Oregon's government, everything. It's the capital. But we got to go around and tour a bunch of different really interesting buildings. We went to the Penitentiary Distribution Center, which is just a giant warehouse, which was staffed with inmates, which I thought was really, really interesting. We went to the state capitol and toured around the state capitol, saw the House and the Senate and whatnot. And then the most interesting thing we did is we went to the state hospital, the Oregon State Hospital, which is actually attached to the building that One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was written about. And that's pretty much it. I want to be respectful of your guys' time.
Yeah,
great.
So
thank you, Ginny. Thank you, Connor.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity.
Yes. Sarah, can you, let's see, try one last time to see if Sarah can come through. Sarah, can you try to speak for us? All right, I apologize, Sarah. We have some technical difficulties on our end, so we're going to go ahead and skip ahead. Just a few moments left. We have some exciting news about our 2019 program. I know many of you on the call are on the call because you're interested in possibly participating this coming year. So exciting news, you heard it here first. We were just approved by the board with our budget to host up to 12 states for this coming summer. We had a feedback group that met several weeks ago talking about the internship program, the way it's worked in the past, and ways to improve it. So we have some suggestions from that group, and we appreciate their time. Many of those people are on this call today. So those suggestions are going to the board, and we'll have more information coming soon. But the plan is to send out the agreement letters to each CPO in early November, just as we did the last summer. So if you and your state are thinking that this would be a good fit for you, or that you're interested and excited about possibly joining our program, please start thinking about that now. We have the internship toolkit that many of you are aware of. It's available online to anyone. It is a free resource. And then it has everything from what do you need to think about before you host an intern, talk to your HR department, do you have the staff capacity? It asks you all those really great questions. So please take a look at that. It's a great resource. We'll send out this toolkit as well as a recording of this webinar tomorrow. So please, if you are thinking about participating this year, be thinking about that. Be thinking about the projects. I hope the projects that our state members and interns shared today kind of got you thinking about projects on your own desk that could be valuable for an intern to assist with. So with that, we just have a few minutes left. We just ran right up to the hour. So if you have any questions, you feel free to ask them now. You can use the chat box, or you can just go ahead and speak. And while we wait for that, we have one final poll question. And that question is, now that you've heard from our summer 2018 interns and supervisors, are you interested in hosting an intern in your state office? That's like great news that no one is scared off from our call today. In the interest of time, we do have time for a question or two, so please feel free to go ahead and speak up now. If not, please feel free to shoot me an email or give me a call after the fact, and I'd be happy to connect you with any of the states who spoke today on the call or answer the questions on our end. So if anyone has any questions, please speak now. Great. Well, with that, we thank you all for your time this afternoon, and we will be sending out the recording as well as the toolkit tomorrow. So thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon.